عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرض مدهية ولا قمر منيرا ولا شمس مضية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا بما بتاع ولا الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت نبوة ومعدن رسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتعزل لي نحبت إلا الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال له نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله. قال لي ولا يبرك السلام ويخصك بالطاهة والإكرام ويأكل لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرض مدهية ولا قمر منيرا ولا شمس مضية ولا فلك يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم قد إذن لي أن أدخل معكم فلتعزنوا لي يا رسول الله. فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا من وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. اللهم صل. فقال لي بأن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. اللهم صل. فقال علي النبي يا رسول الله اخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفجر عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله هو الذي بعثني بالحق نبي وصفاني برسالتي نجي ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وهفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم لا يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام وإذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي هو الذي بعثني بالحق نبي واصطفاني برسالتي نجي ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموما إلا فرج الله غمه لا يمين ولا مغموما إلا كشف الله غمه لا يمين ولا تعلب حاجنا إلا كزى الله حاجته لا يمين. فقال علي عليه السلام وإذا والله فزنا وزودنا وكذلك أشهدنا فاز وزودوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
Now I'm gonna call Brother Mason to come here. Brother Muhammadin wa Ali Muhammad Salawat.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters there on the other side. Inshallah, maybe somebody will listen to us. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Mubarak, inshallah, Shahr Sha'ban, and also Mubarak, the coming of Shahr Ramadan, the month of Maghfirah and Rahmah, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us long life, to be one of the people who fast this great month, inshallah, and get the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this great month. Brothers, we have today a special guest in Houston. Is Ayatollah Syed Mohammad Rizvi, He's from Toronto, Canada, and his late father, Ayatollah Sayyid Saeed Akhtar. He is very well-known alim, and he came to America maybe more than 50 years ago. And so we have some pictures. One of the brothers shared some pictures at UFH many years ago. The father of Samahat al-Sayyid, he translated Al-Mizan book for Ayatollah Tabatabai, and he has other different books. He was the highly trusted and highly respected by the Marja'iyya at the time, Ayatollah Sayyid Muhsin al-Hakim. Sayyid Mahdi al-Hakim, the son of Ayatollah Syed Mohammad Hakim, he nominated Syed Mohammad Rizvi many years ago to come to San Antonio, but Syed, for some excuses, he couldn't make it. Maybe this is more than 40 years ago, I guess. So Syed also, he has many books. He's an author for many books. He has explanation, very unique explanation for the whole Quran, which is really fit for the youth and for also the old people. It's the way it's explained, it is very unique, and honestly rarely see a translation like that. I advise everybody to really to see the tafsir of Syed. He has recently completed the whole tafsir, alhamdulillah, and honestly, I've been telling you the truth, I've been 1.5 years after Sayyidina to bring him to Houston. He's very busy. I really am so thankful for the Sayyid for taking his time to travel all the way from Canada, Toronto to here, and you know, he has so many commitments. Jazakallah khair. So I hope the community in Houston, inshallah, will benefit and appreciate the presence of Sayyidina. Inshallah, we would like to listen to Samahat al-Sayyid after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. السلام عليكم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، واللعنة الدائمة الباقية لأعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: وإذا سألك عبادي عني فإني قريب أجيب دعوة الداعي إذا دعاني فليستجيبوا لي وليؤمنوا بي لعلهم يرشدون. صلوات. I'd like to begin by extending my thanks to Al-Hajj Abu Maitham. As you heard from him, he has been after me for a year and a half to come to Houston. It took me about 20 years to come back to Houston. Last time when I came, I had black beard. So, it has been a long time, and so indeed it's a pleasure to see that now you have multiple centers. When I came here in mid-90s, there was only one center at that time. The themes of my discussion in my meeting with the communities has been this issue of preparing ourselves for the holy month of Ramadan, since this is the last weekend before the month of Ramadan. Last night at IC, I basically talked about the purpose of fasting, concentrating on the last two words of the first ayat, which were revealed in the series of the ayat about fasting, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, that He expects from us to acquire taqwa and righteousness by going through the process of fasting. Tonight I would like to continue that theme, but from a different dimension. Again, going back to the series of ayat which were revealed at that time, and that has to do with the importance of dua during the month of Ramadan. Sometimes, we see some of the things that we do, we take it for granted that this is perhaps a cultural issue for us, and it is not based on our religious teachings. When it comes to the dua, especially during the month of Ramadan, whether it is dua iftitah or other special duas that we have from the A'immah of Ahlul Bayt for each night and day of the month of Ramadan, we have to realize that this is all actually based on the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the passage where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the month of Ramadan, there is also this ayat number 186 in Surah Baqarah, where He says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِ عَنِّي, that, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when my servants ask you about me, that where is Allah, say to them, فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ, I am very close to you. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِي, I respond to the dua of those who pray to me. فَلْيَسْتَجِيبُ لِي وَلِيُؤْمِنُوا بِي, so therefore they should also respond to me. When they do their dua, they also have to respond to me. وَلِيُؤْمِنُوا بِي, and they should trust me. Sometimes we do the du'as, but there is no level of, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He's saying, when you pray to me, have that level of trust, لَعَلَّكُمْ يَرْشُدُونَ, and this is how you will be guided in the right way. So I would like to basically, with the barakat of this ayah, talk about the importance, and so that we can prepare ourselves for the coming month of Ramadan. Let me begin by raising this question: what is dua and what is it for? Because normally, we only think that dua means we are asking for something. कोई मतलब की बात है, कोई परेशानी है, and this is where we have to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked us in the Quran to do dua. He actually loves to hear our voice. He wants us to communicate with Him. And so dua by itself is an ibadat. Especially if you look at the literature of dua that we have in our madhab from the A'immah of Ahlul Bayt, sometimes we do not realize what you have. It's only when you go to the other madhahib and you see the lake of the literature of dua in their madhab, that's where you will come and appreciate what you have from the Ahlul Bayt. Sometimes if you look at, for example, Sahih al-Sajjadiyah, there is nothing absolutely comparable to Saif al-Sajjadiyya among the leaders of any of the madhahib of Islam. And this is where you will see that even when it comes to the path of spirituality, Sufism, even the Sunnis who follow the path of Sufism for their spiritual development, most of them actually trace their chain of disciples and masters going back all the way to one or the other Imam of the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wassalam. Salawat. Let me share with you one example. At least we can sometimes appreciate the hard work of the ulama from Indian subcontinent. There was an alim in India by the name of Marhum Allama Mushtaba Hasan Kamunpuri. Moulana definitely knows him. He was an alim of the generation of my late father, based in Aligarh. A very good scholar. He has many works on research. He is actually the first Indian alim among Shias and Sunnis alike who went to study at Al-Azhar in Egypt, in Cairo. And when he went there, he took some books with himself. Shia would go, you will have Quran and you have Mafati. And with Mafati you have Saif al-Sajjadiyya also. And during his stay in Cairo, he became a friend with some of the prominent Sunni ulama of that time, Sheikh Tantawi and others. And they used to actually go to his hujra, his room in the dorm, to visit him. One day, probably he was outside the room or preparing tea or something for his guest, where the sheikh just happened to, pick up a book and started reading it. He didn't know what is this. And he realized, this is a book of dua, and the way it has been written is very powerful. So he said, can I borrow this book from you? And this was actually Saif al-Sajjadiyya. After a week, Sheikh Tantawi comes back and he says to him that I have a very big complaint with you Shias. He says, what happened? What did we do? He says, you people have such a great treasure and you have just kept it for yourself. You are not sharing it with us. And this is where for the first time in the Egyptian scholarly history, you see that Sheikh Tantawi ends up writing articles actually in the journals of Islam there in Cairo, introducing Saif al-Sajjadiyya to the Sunni audience. And this is where we have to realize that sometimes we don't appreciate what we have unless we go and compare our own situation with those who are outside the fold of Ahlul Bayt. So the dua is not only asking for, oh Allah, I want this and that, or I have this problem. Actually, the du'as that we have from the Ahlul Bayt, they also take us to a higher level of the ma'rifat and understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by following the dua literature of the Ahlul Bayt. Through the du'as of the Ahlul Bayt, we can also have a better understanding of the status of the Prophet and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Many times we have this problem, to know what is the status of the Ahlul Bayt, where the most concrete way and a solid way, where you will not be misguided, is to look at the du'as where the Ahlul Bayt themselves have described themselves. And of course, the du'as are also for our own needs. Whenever we have issues and problems, we turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is the Ahlul Bayt who teach us how to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But one more important element, and that's what I would like to come later on to emphasize on the point, that the du'as of Ahlul Bayt are not only du'as, they are actually indirect message to us from the Imams. That when you ask for such things about yourself, you want to become like that, or I should do that, oh Allah, I pray for this thing. In a way, Imam is actually telling us, the Imams are telling us that this is what we would like to see in you. Don't only pray for it, but actually pray to Allah so that you can actively achieve those qualities that you are asking for in the du'as. And this is what I would like to, begin with an important, difference between namaz and dua. Definitely we learn about the du'as from our programs. If you never came for Thursday night program, probably you would never have the opportunity to open Mafatih al-Jinan and read Dua Kumail. This is how you get introduced to it. But the problem is many times we just take it ritualistically, and that is where we stop ourselves. We do not go further into understanding what this dua is saying to us. There is a difference between namaz and dua. Namaz you have to recite. Is there a condition that you must know Arabic to do namaz? Suppose you don't even know the meaning of Surah Fatiha. Do you still have to do namaz or not? It is wajib. Maybe your deal didn't went the way you wanted, so you are angry with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that day, are you going to not do the namaz, or you are going to do the namaz? So whether you are, happy with Allah or angry with Allah, you understand what you are saying in namaz or not. If you are not an Arab, you still have to do namaz. But what about dua? Namaz पढ़ी जाती है, दुआ मांगी जाती है. That is the difference. Whether you like it or not, you are in a good mood or not, 5 namaz are wajib on you, you have to do it. When it comes to dua, you are asking for something. What is the sense in sitting down and reciting entire Dua Kumail without understanding a single sentence from that dua? What are you asking? If you do not understand the meaning. And in this age, in this time, there is no excuse that, there are no good no translations. In whatever language you want, you will get it in Urdu or Farsi or English or Gujarati or whatever. And you don't even have to buy. I'm not, selling here the translation of Dua Kumail. You can just get it free online, So you can. There is no excuse anymore. And so whatever you do as far as dua is concerned, make sure that you understand what you are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not like namaz. Whether you do understand or not, you still have to do it. Dua is actually your communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You just take this Dua Kumail. We do not appreciate the power which is there in Dua Kumail. And these are the legacies that which have come from the Ahlul Bayt to us through the people who actually gave their lives for the cause of Ahlul Bayt. Why do we call this dua Dua Kumail? Kumail bin Ziyad is a companion of Amir al-Mu'mineen, one of his close friends. And Ali sometimes would pour out his heart to Kumail. And it is Kumail who actually transmitted that dua to us. And he eventually was killed because of the love that he had for Amir al-Mu'mineen. So when you go, for example, for ziyarat, when you go to Kufa, make sure you go for the ziyarat of the shrine of Kumail. He has a haqq on you. If you even once in your life recited Dua Kumail, Kumail has the haqq on you to go and do his ziyarat when you are there in Kufa. And just look at the dua there. It's not that, when you look at the way Amir al-Mu'mineen is teaching us how to communicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by first of all talking about His power and His majesty, and then coming to a point where we confess for our sins and ask for forgiveness and tawbah and istighfar. And then eventually we come to a point where Ali says, say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah, I don't have an excuse for anything that I have done. I don't have the ability to do any hujjat against you on the day of Qiyamah, because I don't have any excuse to justify my sins. But then Ali, after that confession, takes us to a point, and I, for the sake of time, and I'll try to finish it in half an hour as far as concentration of people is concerned, so we'll not take more than that. If you look at a point where Ali actually says that talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after confessing your sins, talk to Him in the language of love. where you say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that, "Oh Allah, I accept that you have absolute right to punish me. You have absolute right to put me in hellfire. And if you do that, that is because of your adl. I cannot complain against it. But then, oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how can I even accept this notion that you are going to put this forehead of mine in fire, which used to do sajda for you?" Ali says, talk to him in a different language now. Say to him that, "Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I cannot bear this thought that you are going to put this tongue into fire, which used to say, La ilaha illallah. Allah, I cannot, bear this thought that you are going to put my feet into Jahannam, where these are the feet which used to walk all the way to the masjid to worship you." And this is the language where, now we are no more talking about a servant and the Lord. You are actually talking about that He is your mahbub and you are the muhib. And we reach to a point where you say, and this is how Ali is teaching us the language of love, that you say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I accept it, that you have absolute right and you put me in the Jahannam. But how can I bear that separation between me and you? Because when you put me in the fire of Jahannam, there is kind of a separation. There is, furqat. There is this distance between me and you. And that is something where, very beautifully, where we say at a point, صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك. Allah, maybe I will be able to bear your adhab, but how can I bear your firaq and distance from you? وحبني صبرت على حر نارك. That, maybe I will be able to bear the heat of the fire of Jahannam. فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك. How can I bear that you are no more looking towards me with your grace and mercy? It's a very different language and approach of how to talk to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you really, look at this dua, even if you don't recite it every Thursday, just once a year, with concentration and understanding, you will realize that your ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reach to a higher level. Salawat. And so, coming back to the du'as of the month of Ramadan, one of the famous dua that we recite, and this is what I would like to use this as an example of dua becoming an indirect message of the Ma'sumin to us. When they say, ask Allah for this, it's not just a message that, oh Allah, do this. It's actually saying that, the Ma'sum is saying, I would like you to do it. But before you start doing it, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for tawfiq and help. A very famous dua that we recite in the month of Ramadan after the prayers, and I'm sure many of you even remember the wordings, starts with the words, Allahumma adkhil ala ahli al-qubur as-surur. It's a very famous dua which has come from our own Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And if you look at that dua, this dua actually is not just a personal spiritual activity of the month of Ramadan. It has a social dimension to the whole process of fasting. That when you are fasting, it is not only you. You are connected to a community. Whether it is the community of those who believe in the wilayat of the Ahlul Bayt, or those who believe in Islam in general, or they are part of the humanity at large. And there are responsibilities that we have towards them. Right in the beginning, the Prophet says, pray for those who have passed away. They also have a haqq upon us. And so the very first dua is, Allahumma adkhil ala ahli al-quburis surur. Allah, give this joy and happiness to the people who have been buried. And then three, cases very, very interesting where he says, Allahumma aghni kulla faqir, Allahumma ashbi kulla jai', Allahumma aksu kulla uryan. Oh Allah, make every faqir, needful person free from need. Ghani means somebody who is no more in need of anyone else. Allahumma ashbih kulla jai'. O Allah, feed every hungry person. Allahumma aksu kulla uryan. O Allah, clothe those who don't have decent clothing. Now tell me, when you are asking that dua, do you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come down himself and feed the hungry and clothe those who don't have decent clothing, or help those who are in need? He doesn't do it himself. When you are actually asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet indirectly is saying that you ask for that tawfiq, that you become the link between Allah and the person who is faqir. You become the wasila between Allah and the person who is jai' and hungry. You become the intermediary between Allah and the person who is uryan, doesn't have decent clothing. Wahhabis who run away from wasila, they don't realize that the whole system is actually running on the basis of wasail. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides rizq for you. He is the raziq. But for the 9 months where you were in the womb of your mother, how did He provide the rizq to you? Through the mother. The first 2 years, He was the raziq, but the mother was the wasila. Later on, the rizq still came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but now the parents together become the wasila. So the whole system actually is working on the basis of wasila. And this is actually an example where the Prophet is saying, do not only ask Allah to take, care of those who are poor and needy and hungry. You are actually asking that I want to become part of this process. Give me the tawfiq and the ability to do this. Salawat. And the du'as that goes on, Allahumma qdi dayna kulli madeen. Oh Allah, fulfill the debts of those who are in debt. Wa farrijan kulli makruh. Relieve the suffering, the difficulty of those who are in suffering. Rudda kulli ghareeb. All those who are refugees or homeless, or who are because of one reason or another not at home. Allah, take them back to their home. Wa fukka kulli asir. Oh Allah, give freedom to every conscious person who is a prisoner because of his own, belief and his conscience. Allahumma aslih kulla fasidin min umuri al-muslimin. O Allah, reform all the corruption and the wrong which is there in the affairs of the Muslims. Does it mean I don't do anything? Well, I'm praying for it, but then I have to look at my own circle. If there is something I can do as far as Islah is concerned, to bring about this, betterment in the community. And this is where we have to realize that, these du'as that we have, they are actually indirectly the message from our Imams, alayhimu salatu wassalam. Salawat. Towards the end, let me, end with a very famous dua that we have for the month of Sha'ban, although now we are coming to the end of it. And it is a dua which has come from the Imam, whose month is also the month of Sha'ban, Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salatu wassalam. And this is actually a dua which is known as Salawat Sha'baniyya. It's not part of Saif al-Sajjadiyya, but it is there in Mafatih al-Jinan. And this is very beautiful that, Imam Zainul Abidin, this is his normal style. Even in Saif al-Sajjadiyya, if you look at the du'as, you will see many du'as. He starts with salawat, ends with salawat, and in between also he mentions salawat on the Prophet and his family more than once. And you have to realize there is a reason for that. This is post-Karbala era. This is the time when Banu Umayyah now every week in the Friday khutbahs are Nauzubillah cursing Amir al-Mu'mineen. How do you propagate the idea which is opposed to the sab and the la'an? That is actually by promoting the salawat. And since this is based on the ayat of Quran, nobody would actually have any objection to that. So this was, you look at the historical context of why the fourth Imam is emphasizing on repeating the salawat. Even this dua, which is known as salawat Sha'baniyah, where it's recommended to recite during the midday time in the month of Sha'ban, where this is an example. Before coming to the actual dua, Imam is actually describing the status of the Ahlul Bayt. After the salawat, he says, who are these? Who are these people that you say, Ali Muhammad? Shajaratun Nubuwa, wa Mawdi'u Risala, wa Mukhtalafu al-Malaika, wa Ma'dan al-Ilm, wa Ahl Bayt al-Wahi. These are actually, they belong to what is known as Shajaratun Nubuwa. They are the tree, that source of Nubuwwat. They are the station of Risalat. Their house was the house Mukhtalaf al-Malaika, where the Malaika used to descend and ascend. This is where they would come. Ma'dan al-Ilm, they are the treasure of knowledge. Wa Ahl Bayt al-Wahi, they are not only members of a normal family, they are from the family of Wahi and revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the second passage he says, وَالْفُلْكُ الْجَارِيَةِ فِي اللُّجَلِ الْغَامِرَةِ. They are actually the ark of salvation in deep waters. If you really want to see, this is where he is, Imam is using this comparison which is there in the hadith of the Prophet also, that my Ahlul Bayt are like the Safina of Nuh. And so the statement goes on, يَأْمَنُ مَنْ رَكِبَهَا وَيَغْرُقُ مَنْ تَرَكَهَا. Whoever embarks on this ark will be saved, and whoever abandons it, they will be drowned. Al-Mutaqaddimu lahum mariq wal-muta'akhkhiru anhum zahiq. Those who go ahead of them. What does it mean? We're not talking about going ahead means walking ahead of them. It means those who exaggerate their statements, say things more than what they themselves talk about themselves. Ghulu. They are wrong. Wal-muta'akhkhir. And even those who do taqsir, who actually put down their status, they are also wrong. وَاللَّازِمُ لَهُمْ لَاهِقٌ. Those who are successful are the one who is always with the Ahlul Bayt. They do not go ahead of them, nor do they lag behind the Ahlul Bayt. And then in the third passage he says, who are these Ahlul Bayt? Al-Kahf al-Hasin. They are very strong caves. Caves basically were used in the past as symbolism for refuge and safety. Whenever there was extreme weather, you would like to find a place where you can be protected. وَغِيَاصَ الْمُسْتَرُّ الْمُسْتَكِينَ. They are the one where those who are in istirad and suffering, they will go and refer to them. مَلْجَأِ الْحَارِبِينَ. When people are running away from the tyrants, Ahlul Bayt, they become their point of safety. And then going on, he says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salatan kasiratan takunu lahum ridan. Wa Allah shower so many salawat on them that they be pleased with them, and it fulfills the haqq of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. And this is where we come to realize that the du'as are not only asking things for ourselves, they are also a solid source of understanding the status of the Imams of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam. Salawat. Coming to the main point, which actually relates to my theme, where I connected about this dua from the Prophet, that when we say Allahumma aghni kull faqir washbi' kull ja'i' waqsi kull uryan, it's not only dua for them, we actually have to be actively, at least try to be part of that process. In this salawat sha'baniyah, At the end, we come to the actual dua where we are asking for certain things. The very first thing we say, وَعْمُرْ قَلْبِي بِطَاعَتِكَ وَلَا تُخْذِنِي بِمَعْصِيَتِكَ. That Allah, keep my heart alive. In what sense? If you are doing dua, you are alive. But no, there is spiritual life we are talking about. And Imam says, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because a heart which is in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a living heart spiritually. And a heart which is in disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, although it is physically alive, but spiritually it is dead. Wa'amur, give us the life, umr, of the heart, bita'atika, in your obedience, and do not disgrace me with your disobedience. And then this is a very powerful dua in this statement. In the second one, وَارْزُقْنِي مُوَاسَاةَ مَنْ قَدَّرْتَ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ رِزْقِكَ. That Allah, bless me with sustenance, with rosy and rizq. For what? Not only for me and for my dependents. Allah, give me extra so that I can help the person that you have deprived from your rizq. Just think about it. Isn't it this, audacity from the person saying to Allah, "Oh Allah, you have deprived someone from your rizq, and so I'm asking you to give me extra to me so I can give to that person." But no, this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is how the system works. Allah decides that I'm going to, restrain the rizq of so and so. But He is not stopping you from helping that person. This is where you become the wasila. And this is where we have to realize that yes, Muhammad and Ali Muhammad are the supreme wasila for us. But on a lower levels, everyone can become a wasila for others. And this is something which we have to realize, that we are praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَارْزُقْنِي, O Allah, give me the ability, مُوَاسَاةَ مَنْ قَدَّرْتَ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ رِزْقِكَ, to share with someone whose rizq you have restrained and cut off. بِمَا وَسَّعْتَ عَلَيَّ مِنْ فَضْلِكَ, from the extra and the ample that you are going to give to me out of your grace. وَنَشَرْتَ عَلِيَّ مِنْ عَدْلِكَ, and from the justice that you have showered upon me. وَأَحْيَيْتَنِي تَحْتَ ظِلِّكَ, and you have made me live under your shadow, the shadow of your mercy. And this is what I would like to leave you with, the message that inshallah, when you basically go around doing the rituals, remember these are not cultural issues. Even the reciting of dua, extra duas in the month of Ramadan, this is part of the teachings of the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salatu wassalam. And the main thing is that the duas that we have from the Ahlul Bayt is not only asking, rather these are indirect messages from the Imams, that this is what we expect you to do, as far as getting closer to the Imam of the time and to Rasul and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower His blessings upon us and accept our ibadat. Give us the tawfiq to truly understand the wisdom of the fasting of the month of Ramadan, so that we can fulfill the duty that we have and do it in the best of manner, that He has the he has the pleasure there, and so that the Imam of our time also can be pleased with our activities and dua. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
at the beginning of Sha'ban, we had a hope that we will be one of those blessed ones that do munajat Sha'baniyah, they have the tawfiq to do those such great supplication, such great dua from Ahl al-Bayt. Now as we entering the month of dua, the month of Ramadan, how can we make sure that we are not losing such opportunity? Because sometimes we wish things, but wishing things is one thing and applying it or having it happening in our life is something else. So we don't want to be mahroomin from that. Thank you, Sayyid.
I think the main thing is that we have to prepare ourselves mentally for it. You know, I don't know if my question was Yes. Basically, you're saying that many times we have the desire of doing things, but then on a practical level, we don't get the tawfiq to do that. I think it starts with the mindset. If we say, okay, we are preparing for Ramadan, so we make sure, okay, we get up for the Sahri and hope everything is ready there for us to eat. Then the main thing is, okay, what will happen after Maghrib? If those are the preparation, this is where we'll get it. But if we really mentally prepare ourselves that this is actually the month of blessing, just this issue of, salawat, for example. Although it's salawat Sha'baniyah, but even in the khutbah of the Prophet where he welcomes the month of Ramadan, he says, during this month, recite salawat as many times as you can. In the day of Qiyamah, the most weighty item which was there on the mizan, on the positive side, would be the salawat. And so I think we have to, hopefully even this gathering that we had and the discussion with the is a step in that direction to think about it. We might not be able to, sometimes we wouldn't be able to do everything. If you start looking at Mafati, for example, the items which are there, if you expect that you'll be able to do everything every day, no. My advice even would be not even to go for 100% day one. Otherwise, by the 30th day, you will be zero. You have to, even in spiritual development, you have to go gradually. Nobody is better the guide for us than Amir al-Mu'mineen, where he says in Nahj Balagha, where he says, Inna lil qulub iqbalan wa idbaran. He says even our soul and spirit goes through different situations. Sometimes they are more recipient to you, and sometimes they are kind of, reluctant to listen to what you want to do. And this is what Ali says, when your soul and spirit is at the level, high level, where it is listening and obeying to what you want to do, maximize that spirit. Do the extras. But when your soul actually goes down and becomes kind of rebellious, then make sure that at least you do the wajibat. And so, a person is never on the, straight line or just going up and up and up. And a spiritual development, you sometimes go up, then you go down. You just have to make sure you don't go totally down. And you maintain again and then continue. This is how you'll be able to build on it. Don't go full speed and then, you realize you burn out right in the middle there. And so that is the advice I would have. recitation of the Quran in Arabic or English or both. I think this tradition that we have of reciting the Quran is a very important tradition in the month of Ramadan. You know, almost universally, entire Muslim world, somehow in one way or another, they recite the Quran in the month of Ramadan. And it's interesting that the name of the book is Al-Quran, the recital. It is a book which is being recited. And probably this is the most read book in the world. Whether those who read understand or not, that's a different story. But those who read I don't think there is any nation in the world which can, come even close to Muslims in reciting. And there is a beauty in it. Sometimes we have to realize that if you compare to the Bible, the Christians, for example, when you look at the New Testament, the 4 Gospels there, this is not Injil. This is not the book that Allah revealed on Isa ibn Maryam. This is actually, Gospels are books compiled by those who came later on. John, Luke, Matthew, and this another fellow, 4 of them. So it's more like, a book of hadith, talking about Isa and what he did and what happened to him. It's not the book that Allah revealed to him. When you compare that with the Quran, you come to realize Quran is actually the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Quran, He is guaranteed, Inna lahu lahafidhun. We are the one who revealed it, and we are going to protect it. And one way that Allah has protected the Quran is by this issue of reciting it. Majority of Muslims don't know Arabic, but they learn how to read the Quran in Arabic. There is a beauty in it by itself. So reading the Quran in Arabic, learning how to read it, even if you don't understand the language, is still an important issue. It should continue. But do not stop at just reading. You have to understand the meaning also, reflect on some of the ayat to get this light from the Quran. Quran is nur. It calls itself nur. Quran is hidayat. It is guidance. And that can only happen when you actually engage with the Quran, and that is where you will need the translation in your own language. So yes, you read the Quran, but also spend some time to look at the translation and to look at the meaning of the holy book. Otherwise, what you are doing is actually you are doing wudu, but not doing namaz. Reading the Quran is actually a muqaddimah for understanding the Quran and then implementing the teachings of the Quran. So you're just doing one part of then not moving to the second level that you should be moving to. The advice for the young generation, well, I'll go back to what I said last night in the gathering in IEC, that the whole purpose of fasting is not physical fitness, losing few pounds at the end of the month. As I said, we actually gain more because of all these, tala hua, pakoda, and this and that we eat. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is actually to build up that spirituality, to strengthen our willpower. It is the youth who actually need that more than anyone else. You face challenges, especially in this part of the world. Temptations are there everywhere you go. Now you don't even have to go anywhere. You have it there in your palm. Shaitan doesn't need to knock on your door. And this is where we have to realize that when we talk about fasting, that willpower to resist the temptation of committing sin is actually salvation for you in the akhirah. And the best way of building that willpower is actually to go through this process of fasting with understanding. And so look at it from that perspective, and inshallah, the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be there with each one of us. Yes. How can we build taqwa, and the basic meaning of taqwa? I'll be repeating what I said last night because that was the theme. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about the command for fasting, at the end He says that I expect you to exercise taqwa by fasting. And taqwa, the best way I can explain to you would be to say that to have this consciousness of the presence of Allah in your life at all the time. The reason why we end up committing sins, because at that moment Allah was absent from our consciousness. If we had that consciousness of His presence, that itself, the huzur of Allah, that He is hazir and nazir, would be a barrier between us and committing sin. The example I gave last night was, if there is a highway speeding, and there is one area where the police is sitting with his radar, you automatically slow down. Why? Because you have this knowledge and ma'rifah that he is there watching. If we have that for all the time, that is actually the meaning of taqwa. Okay, inshallah, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept our ibadat and increase our tawfiqat, and may He hasten the appearance of the Imam of the time, ajjalallahu ta'ala farajuhu sharif.
Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum Nabi Allah. Assalamu alaikum Aba Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum Rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa jaddika wa abika. Assalamu